Hey guys, Laura here again with round 4 from the Sandusky Fall Battle Roads. We have this time Henry Pryor on the left and Jack Iler on the right. Jack's coming up against another mostly fighting deck. We saw earlier that he didn't have too much of a problem beating Austin Shamblin's fighting deck, but we'll see how he does against Henry here. He is going to start with an energy on Thunderous, and he gets to Ultra Ball. I didn't get to see whether it was 1 or 2, but he does have at least 1 lightning energy in his discard pile, so that later he can get those eels rolling. And he is going to get a Dynamo out with the Ultra Ball. So, already not really a bad turn for Jack. And he's got a Mewtwo down. We saw earlier that that's really going to be what he uses his main attacker against these fighting type decks. And assuming that he can get at least 1 more Dynamo out, this will be a really good first turn for him. He gets a level ball, so we'll see 1 more Dynamo. And then, yeah, he's just going to go ahead and charge. Looks like there's a Terrakion down on the bench, so Henry's got Terrakion EX out. We saw earlier that Terrakion EX is a really good Pokemon for fighting decks. One of the only energy acceleration forms that fighting has. And works great with Terrakion. That pump-up smash attack that he has is just really good. Jack is set up to start doing things on his turn. He should be able to get an energy and start doing damage to that Terrakion EX. And yeah, he is going to get an eel out, so he's going to be able to start building Mewtwo up on the bench. There is, of course, a chance that Henry runs Mewtwo in his deck, so you always have to be a little bit careful about building up Mewtwo too early. One energy on Mewtwo. He doesn't get his second eel out, but at this point he probably isn't too worried about that, and he's already going to be able to start doing damage to that Terrakion EX. Henry's going to try and keep him alive a little bit longer with that Eviolite, but probably Mewtwo is going to be coming after him before too long. So Henry just Junipered away a lot of things, and Henry plays potions, so getting rid of some of that damage. That's not a card that you see every day for sure. And then a plus power, and that Thunderous is suddenly no more. Jack doesn't have a Sky Arrow out yet, so he doesn't really have the option of sending the Dynamo out for free retreat. I like the plan of sending Electric out. He does run Switch, so he might be able to get one later. He can still build things up on the bench. If he sent a Dynamo out, there's a chance that he would have to evolve it into an Electric anyway. So, assuming that later he can get the Switch or have some way of getting that Mewtwo up there, that's probably not a bad call. Looks like he's got a lot of trainers in his hand. I can't really tell what all he's got going on there. We'll see the one dynamotor. And there's the switch. So right now that Mewtwo's doing 40 damage. And it looks like that's all that he's going to be able to do this time around. Okay, Henry's getting an N with that random receiver. Not sure if he's going to play that. I did see that he has a catcher in hand. He might decide to just go for the eels and take as many eel prizes as possible. Not really sure what he's going to do at this point. Starting to set Terrakion on the bench up for Retaliate, maybe. See another Terrakion EX on the bench. Okay, yeah, so he is going to go for the eel prize. And instead of setting up for the Retaliate, he's just setting up another Terrakion EX. Probably not a bad call. Of course, if Jack needs to later, he can always catcher that Retaliate Terrakion up and just let it sit there to buy himself another turn. That said, Henry most likely runs some switch in his deck, if not lots of switch in his deck. So it's always kind of a gamble whether that catcher is really going to buy you that much time. We get to see another eel on Jack's side. And just loading that Mewtwo up. An Ultra Ball, getting rid of an energy, and getting another eel out. So hopefully Jack's got another Mewtwo either in his hand or on the way. Yeah, there it is, in his hand. So he's going to start building this guy up for backup. Does have at least 2 energy in his discard pile, so that Mewtwo is ready to go as soon as it needs to be. And he gets to knock out a Terrakion EX, which is nice. Looks like Henry's got a Bouffalant on the bench. If you haven't seen Bouffalant yet, his ability Boofer reduces all damage done to him by 20. And his attack is 60 and 60 more if the defending Pokemon is a Pokemon EX. So, sorry Mew and Shaman, any other squishy EXs, but Bouffalant is just really good against those guys. He only does 120 to Mewtwo, but again, if Henry can get a pump-up smash set up, then he should have no problem getting the Bouffalant set up for later. So whatever he's able to do at this point to help him out is going to be better. Jack keeps ending him down to low card hands, which is really good, especially with that pump-up smash attack. The fewer cards you have in hand, the less likely you're going to be able to attach anything with pump-up smash. And the way Henry's side of the field looks right now, it would be really nice for him to be able to get some energies with Bump Up Smash. That Mewtwo's just going to keep doing damage, and before too long Henry's going to be out of options for attacks. And he's going to try a Super Scoop Up and send Buffalon out. That's interesting. He won't give up the 2 prizes, obviously. He's just gonna try and set that Terrakion EX up on the bench and leave the Buffalon up there. Nice to get rid of 1 prize instead of 2. And I believe he has 100 HP, so Mewtwo's gonna need a DCE to be able to knock it out. Which, again, Jack does run DCE in his deck, but he's just gonna either not have the DCE or decide not to play it. And Henry's gonna keep setting the Terrakion EX up on his bench, and just leaves the Buffalon there to die, presumably. Okay, that's probably the thing that makes the most sense in this case for Jack. He's going to catch up that Terrakion. Henry can attack. Looks like he can finally Pump Up Smash. He's ending himself to only 3 cards though, so chances of him having the energy to be able to play down, maybe not too likely. Maybe he'll get 1. Maybe he'll get lucky and have 2 energy and a Juniper. Something along those lines. But with that few cards, not looking really likely. Oh, so he does get 2 energy. Unfortunately, he still hasn't been able to knock out this Mewtwo, and Jack is just ready to keep doing damage. Can't tell. I think that was an Eviolite that Jack put on the other Mewtwo in the back there. And then he's retreating to that other Mewtwo. Instead of putting both energy back on the Mewtwo with Dynamotor, he's putting 1 on Thundurus. Kind of an interesting decision. There have been quite a few ends this game. Having a hard time keeping track of who's ending who. Henry at this point is probably just trying to find some way to keep that Terrakion alive or help his situation out a little bit more. You get to see a DCE on Bouffant. He's just gonna do more damage to the Mewtwo. Well, to the new Mewtwo. So he's got some options set up for the future. Being able to do 100 damage to either of the Mewtwo, because I believe they both have Eviolite on them, is helpful. There's a max potion on that benched Mewtwo. Of course, if he decides to, Jack can always just put those 2 energy right back on the Mewtwo. And he's ready to go for later or now. So Jack gets another 2 prizes. Henry is sending up the Bouffant that isn't really going to be able to do a whole lot for him. He, like I said, can do 100 damage to this Mewtwo because of its Eviolite, which might be the best thing that he can do in this case. I mean, he could have gotten an energy on Terrakion and done 70 damage. Not really looking good for Henry. Henry's trying to decide whether to attack or not, and he will do 100 damage to the Mewtwo. Jack can easily X-Ball for the knockout. He does run the risk of being retaliated. But it's probably one that he's going to have to take. Of course, Jack only needs to take 1 more prize. Henry putting a DCE on that Terrakion is only helping Jack. Okay, we do see an Eviolite, so that cancels out the 2nd energy of the DCE, I guess, but Jack is in pretty good position right now. Oh, I thought Henry only needed 3 prizes. I misspoke earlier. He does have 2 left now. But we're just going to see the Zekrom EX come and knock Henry's Terrakion out. So, again, Jack is able to defeat the fighting type decks, and his electric Pokemon don't seem to have any problem.